All right, so I just did this entire video and it did not record. It recorded the first like 4 seconds, and so I'm doing this all over again. So we already did an example budget, or I did an example budget, and so I'm going to go ahead and open it so that you can see what it is going to look like when we are finished. So what we are going to do is we are going to build this budget, and this is the budget or the spending plan, whatever you want to call it, that I use every month. I am not using correct figures because I'm not comfortable with that. At the end or at the beginning of each month, I will print this out, and then I put it in the first dashboard page of my Erin Condren Life Planner. Okay, that comes with me pretty much everywhere. So this is my planner that just ended. So this is June. So on the back, here's my monthly spread here. And then on the back of that, you have two dashboard pages. This one is just lines, so I print out my budget and glue it in there, and then here's the dashboard page, and then it moves into the weekly pages. So I've talked about this in my previous videos, but I've never done a tutorial for it, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I create my budget. And I'm going to go a little bit shorter because I've already done this once, and I have to leave to go pick up my son here pretty soon. So to do your budget or spending plan, I'm using Google Sheets. You can use Excel, and if you have the Microsoft apps, you will be able to access it on your phone. We are a Google school, like the school that I teach at is a Google school, and I have everything. I have a Gmail account. So obviously, because I'm a YouTuber, because Google owns YouTube. So I just do everything on Google Sheets. Now, there are some things that Microsoft is better at than Google, but Google is really making changes and improving their functionality very well, and updating things very quickly. So, but Google and the productivity applications that they provide, this is not sponsored, by the way. They do not know who I am. They are just, it's super easy to use. And for this, it's not a formula heavy project. We're just using formulas that add numbers together. So the sum formulas, and then we're subtracting. We don't have any kind of if formulas or lookup tables or anything like that. So this is pretty easy to do. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to start from scratch. So from your Google Drive, which I guess let me go to my email. So if you have a Gmail account, then you have a Google Drive. Okay. So I'm just going to open up my Gmail account here, and then go up to the waffle. So you have your little icon picture, your account picture in the upper right hand corner. Right next to that, you have the waffle, which is your apps button. And then you have your drive, which is the tricolored triangle. So you're going to click on that. And I use my drive extensively. So I have folders and everything. You may have nothing in there. So we're not going to pay attention to how I organize anything over here, because we just want to go ahead and get this budget created. So I'm going to click on New, the little plus sign over here, and then I'm going to go to Google Sheets and click on the arrow, and then I'm going to choose Blank Spreadsheet, because we're going to be creating this from scratch. Okay. I don't have super great internet. I live out in the country, so it takes a little bit for things to load, where yours might be like, lightning fire. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is click and give this a name. Otherwise, it's just going to name it Untitled Spreadsheet or Sheet 1. And that is going to make things really hard to find when you're going into your drive. So you want to go ahead and name this something. So I'm going to name it 2021 budget sample. Okay. You can name it whatever you want. Okay. And then I'm just going to click away, and that's going to give this file a name. So I'm going to be able to access it easily when I'm looking at my drive. The next thing that I want to do is go ahead and zoom in so that this is easier for you guys to see. And I'm going to increase my font size to 12. Okay. So I am going to be doing a budget that is, or a spending plan based on how me and my husband get paid, which is bi-monthly. So I'm going to have a label column, which is going to be column A, and then my first pay is going to be column B, my second pay is going to be column C, and then my totals for each of our income streams and all of our expenses is going to be in column D. Now, if you guys have, if you get paid weekly, then you're probably going to have more columns than I will have. So you'll have your labeling column, and then you'll have pay 1, pay 2, pay 3, pay 4, and then you'll have a totals, okay? So if you've never used Excel or Sheets, this is your workbook or worksheet grid. Everything is separated into these little boxes that are called cells. So cells are located in columns and rows. So the intersection of a column and a row is a cell. And so this cell is cell A1. So its location, the name is its actual location. And I can see that in this name box right here. So this would be cell B1, this would be cell B3, B4, C6, okay? And that's how you can recognize or know the location that you are in. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is, because we're going to be working on income first, is I'm going to select my first 4 cells, and I'm going to merge them together so that I can create a title, because I need everything in my budget to be nice and tidy. So I'm clicking on the merge cells button, and what that is going to do is it's going to take those 4 individual cells that I had selected, and it's going to merge them into just one big cell. And I'm going to type income in there, and then I'm going to go and center it, make it bold and a different size, and then I'm going to fill it with green, light green, because it's money. Okay, so I already said that my income streams or my labels are going to be in column A. So since we're working on income, we're going to have my income, okay, and then my husband's, and then I'm just going to put other. So you may only have your income, you may have yours and a spouse like I do, and then you may have yours, a spouse, and multiple other streams of income. I don't know what your situation is, but we have our work income, and then we have some side hustle income that I'm going to be tracking that's pretty consistent, okay? So again, since, I guess I should add this here. I'm going to insert a row above here and just make this first pay and second pay, and then totals, okay? So I know what I'm looking at, but you guys might not, so this might make it a little bit easier for you guys, okay? So I've got myself, my husband, and other. And then what we're going to do is we are actually going to have a total column here too. All right. So this column, column D, the total columns here is going to total up how much money I am making for the month, how much money my husband is bringing home for the month, how much money our side hustle is bringing in for the month, and then we will have a grand income total. Then we have a totals row in row 6 here, and that's going to show us the total of all of the income streams for our first pay, the total for all of the income streams for our second pay, and then the monthly grand total, okay? So that is why I have that listed there, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and enter my pay amounts. Now, I'm not using the real numbers here. I'm just going to do generalized numbers. So I'm going to say that me and my husband both bring home $1,000 a pay. Okay, and then let's say that we bring home about $500 in side hustles per pay, okay? So if you want to make this look like money instead of just random, or not random, but just digits, then what you can do is click and drag over all of your cells and then apply the currency format, and that will make everything appear as currency. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a formula that is going to add these two cells together and show us the total of those cells here. But we're not going to do 1,000 plus 1,000 equals 2,000. What we're actually going to utilize is the location of our cells. So we're actually going to say whatever amount is in this cell B3 plus whatever amount is in this cell C3 is going to show up here in D3. And the reason that we're doing that is because you may go back and change one of your pays or the amounts of one of your pays, and then you don't want to have to redo your formula because that would just take forever all the time. You're going to find that you're going to make changes to these things. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we'll do it the wrong way first, and then we'll do it the right way, okay? So if you want to do a calculation in Excel or in Sheets, you start out in your cell with the equal sign. That signifies to the program that you're getting ready to do a calculation that it is going to have to complete, okay? So I'm going to say equals $1,000 plus $1,000, and I'm just going to hit enter. So Excel is going to then do the calculation, and it shows you the answer is 2,000, right? So if I click on cell D3 and then I look up here, this is called the formula bar, it's actually going to show me what is living inside that cell, okay, like an X-ray machine. And it's going to show me equals 1,000 plus 1,000, and that's correct. The answer is 2,000. Now let's say that I get my paycheck and I'm like, oh, insurance didn't come out of this, or something didn't come out of this because it was a beginning of a new contract or something like that. So my pay was actually $1,200 instead of 1,000. So I'm going to go in and change that amount for my first pay here. Well, when I hit enter, nothing happens in the totals. So 1,200 plus 1,000 is actually 2,200, right? But it's still showing me $2,000. That's because we didn't say whatever is in cell B3 plus whatever is in cell C3 equals this number. We said 1,000 plus 1,000 equals, and it's telling you that's 2,000, which is correct. So Excel is correct. We are wrong, okay? I'm going to hit undo and put everything back, and we're going to do this the right way. So still in cell D3, we're going to type equals to signify calculation, and then this time we're going to click on cell B3, and you'll see that the location of the cell name pops up, and it is orange, and B3 is outlined and has a fill color that is also orange. So you can see that, yes, you're getting a visual confirmation that this is the cell that I want to put into this formula. Then I'm going to type a plus sign, and I'm going to click on C3. Okay, again, you're getting the same visual confirmation. It pops up, C3, the location pops up in purple, and then we have a purple outline and fill color. That is correct. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so the next thing that pops up, if this pops up, don't worry about it. I'm going to hit X. It's just trying to say that it thinks that you want to do these same calculations down below, which in fact we do. So now let's go ahead and try that change again. So instead of my first pay being $1,000, it's actually going to be $1,200. So I'm going to change that to $1,200 and press enter. And then you can see as soon as I hit enter, my total is recalculated and it shows me the correct total of $2,200. So that's the way that you want to do this formula. So I'm going to press Control and the tilde button, and that's going to show my formulas. So I can actually see that what is living in this cell is equals B3 plus C3, okay? And then when I hit enter, it calculates, and what is actually displayed to me is the actual calculation answer, okay? Now, I'll go ahead and repeat this, and then I'll show you the fill handle in a minute. So we're going to do the same thing for Mark's income. So I'm just going to do equals, and then his first pay income, which is in cell B4, and then the plus symbol, and then C4, and then I'm going to press enter, okay? And that's going to calculate. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing for our side hustle income. So equals B5 plus B6 or C5, and then press enter, okay? So now this is showing me my total for the month, Mark's total for the month, the side hustle total for the month. But we want to know how much money we're going to have all together for our actual pay periods. So we're going to do the same kind of formula here. Now we're going to add a function onto it. So if you can imagine, like when we get to our expenses, we're going to have a lot more expenses than we are income streams. So if we keep doing the cell location plus, cell location plus, cell location plus, it's going to get to be a really long formula. So now what we're going to do is we're going to utilize a pre-programmed function called the sum function. So since I'm totaling up my first pay, I'm going to be in cell B6, to type equals, and then I'm going to type sum, which means to add, and I'm going to add a beginning parentheses. So the beginning parentheses is the parentheses is going to hold on to the range of cells that we want to add together. So let me do that again. So equals SUM and a beginning parentheses. Then I'm just going to click on my first pay, my pay for the first pay period, and I'm going to hold down the mouse and drag down through Mark and to the other category, okay? So me, Mark, other, and then I'm going to press enter. And what that's going to do is it's going to add up all of those categories there, okay? Same thing here for our second pay, equals sum, beginning parentheses, and then click and hold down the mouse and drag down to our 3 cells there and press enter. Okay, so it's now showing me that for my first pay, I've got $2,700. For my second pay, I have $2,500. Now I want to know what my grand total is for the month. I'm going to do it exactly the same way. Equals sum, beginning parentheses, and then I'm going to click and drag on my 3 cells above and press enter. So now I can see that my total income for the month is $5,200. Okay, now because I am a little OCD about how things are organized, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these cells and put them in green so that I can see that this is the last portion of the income portion of my account. And then since I have totals in here, which are not my actual like income amounts, I'm going to go ahead and bold those so that just when I'm glancing at this, like if you close your eyes and you open up, your eyes are going to go to either the biggest, the most colorful, or the boldest items. And so this is going to take me right away to my totals for our individual income streams and then the totals for the month. All right. So that is how you do the income calculations. All right. So let's go ahead and now we're going to skip one row and we're going to move down to row 8, and this is where we're going to do our expenses. Now again, I'm just going with the 2 pay periods per month in this example. So I'm going to go ahead and select A8 through D8, and I'm going to merge that together, and I'm going to label this as expenses. Okay, I'm going to center that. And this time I am going to apply this pink because it's money going out. And then I'm going to label it the same way: first pay, second pay, and then totals. Okay, and then I'm going to bold those. All right, so now you just start listing out your expenses. So just for time's sake, I'm not going to list everything out. On my actual budget, I list out as many things as I can. So I list out my mortgage, any auto loans, any other loans, any credit cards, any medical bills, water, utilities, cable, or I don't have cable, but we have Hulu, and we have Disney Plus. We have internet, trash service, our life insurance, our individual retirement accounts, our college savings accounts. If you have any subscriptions like Amazon Music, Audible, we have a virtual workout subscription through Fit Club, so I list that out. I have a medical bill, Springfield Clinic, so I list that out. And then some people stop there, but I go ahead and I do my groceries, I do fuel, let me see, fund money for me and my husband. So I have a pretty extensive list, and you can even make it, I mean, you can put it down to kids' allowance. You can literally list out every single expense that you have, so that you know where every amount of money is going. Like even if you wanted to put $1 into a savings challenge, you can put that in here. So this can be as detailed or general as you want it to be. So I'm just going to list out, I don't have any credit cards. We paid off all of our credit cards. We sold our boat. So we have our mortgage, and we have 2 vehicles. We actually just purchased another vehicle after going a year with just a single vehicle. So I'm going to list those things, my utilities, and then groceries and fund money. And I'm not going to list anything else because I want you guys to be able to see how this works. I want you to be able to build your own budget and be able to see how all this works, but you don't need to know what all of my expenses are. So I'm just going to put mortgage, and then expedition, water, electricity, internet, cell phones. Oop, if I could type. Medical bill. I'm trying to think what else. And then I'll put groceries and cash stack. All right, so the reason I'm doing this is because I want you guys to be able to see everything on one screen without me having to zoom out too much, because it'll be really small. All right, I'm hoping this is still recording. Yes, it looks like it is. Okay, so I've listed out my income. We've done the totals for that, and now we're looking at our expenses for our first pay and our second pay. And again, you guys are going to add as many of these things as you want. I want to keep this confined within this area so that you can see everything on one screen rather than me having to scroll up, down, up, down, up, down, okay? Because I want you to be able to see all of the calculations, because the calculations is what makes this amazing. So I'm going to say that our mortgage is $600 a month. It's not, it's much more than that, but you know, we're just going to use this as an example. And I'm going to pay that over two. I'm going to pay half the first pay and then half the second pay, kind of like a sinking fund. Okay. So I'm going to put $300 in the first pay, $300 in the second pay. So I'm allocating funds from my first paycheck and my second paycheck to my mortgage. Okay. So then my truck payment is actually due on the 27th, but so is the expedition payment. But I don't want both of those coming out in the same pay period. I could, and maybe you have one pay period or that you get paid a lot more and you want to pay both of your car payments out of that. But for me, I'm just going to kind of try and even my expenses out. Okay. So let's go 365 and then the expedition 365. My water bill is $65 generally. My electric bill is about $115. Okay, my internet is $67. My cell phone is actually due here, and it is, unfortunately, cell phones are ridiculous. And this is due on the 20th, so I think it'll have to come out of here. Okay, and then I know that my husband and I each get $100 of miscellaneous spending, so the cash stash is going to be $100 for each of us, so that's $200. So my groceries I have left blank because I want to see how much money I have left after paying these bills before I decide how much money I'm going to put towards groceries. Now, generally, I can tell you that in my real budget, I allocate $300 a pay to go towards groceries. But I don't know about you guys and where you live, but my grocery bill has been astronomical lately. The last couple of months, I am lucky if I can get out of there with under $350. This last month, my bill has been, my last grocery trip was like almost $500. It was absolutely ridiculous. Prices have gone up so much, and so I'm definitely going to have to redo my budget configuration. But even though I redo the amounts, I use this same setup every single month. Okay. Okay, so we're going to pretend that this is all of our expenses. If that was all my expenses, I would be ecstatic, but it's not. And it's not debt expenses, it's just living expenses that are ridiculous. So anyway, that's my personal opinion, but we're just going to say these are all of our expenses. So now we got to figure out what our total expenses are for each pay and then how much money we have left after we have paid our expenses, so that we know, you know, if we got to buy birthday presents or if you want to put money away for Christmas or anything else. Okay. So I'm going to do a totals label, and I'm going to drag that over, make it bold, and fill it with that pink color. All right, so let's go ahead and do these formulas. So we're going to use the same formulas for the total to total up how much we're paying for each individual expense, and then we'll total up the expenses for pay one and then the expenses for pay two. And we're using the same formulas that we did up here, the sum function, okay? So I'm going to click in my total section next to my mortgage, and I'm going to do equals sum beginning parentheses, and then I'm going to click and drag on my first mortgage payment over to my second mortgage payment and then press enter. And that's going to pop up again with the autofill. It's going to pop up and it's going to tell me, okay, for this month, you're paying $600 towards your mortgage. That's exactly my mortgage payment. So that's correct. Now, I don't want to repeat this for every single expense, okay, because that would take a little bit of time. And so there's a shortcut, and it is called the fill handle. So when you click on a cell that contains a formula and you want to utilize that formula over and over and over again, you can use what's called the fill handle. So in the lower right-hand side of any of your selected cells, you're going to have a little square. When you lay your mouse on that square, it is going to access the fill handle. And I'm going to click on that and I'm going to drag that down for all of my expenses. And what it's going to do, it is going to customize that formula for its new location. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the control tilde, which is the show formula. So control button and then the tilde button, and that's going to expand my cells so that you can see all of the formulas in this sheet. So our original formula for our mortgage was equal sum B10 plus C10. So that's B10 plus C10, okay? Now when I copied that formula down to the next row, it customized it, or it changed the formula. So now instead of saying equal sum B10 plus C10, it moved the row down. So it says equal sum B11 plus C11. And it just keeps doing that all the way down the line. Saves a lot of time. It's wonderful. That is allowed to happen because our cell references, or the names of our cells, are relative cell references, which mean that they can adjust themselves when they are either moved or copied. But I don't need to get into all of that like I would in my classroom, okay? So I'll do control tilde again to hide my formulas. And then we're going to move down to our total expenses here. So we're going to use the same function, the sum function, but this time we're going to do it for all of our expenses in pay 1. So we're going to do, make sure you have your total expenses cell selected, which this one is B20, and then equals sum beginning parentheses, and then we're going to click and drag from our first expense to our last expense, and then press enter. And it's going to add up all of those expenses. So now I know that my total expenses for pay 1 is at $1,400. So now I'm going to use that fill handle. Now that we know about it, I'm going to use that fill handle to copy these formulas to my second pay and to my total column. Okay. And so that's going to show me that I have a total of $980 in expenses for my second pay, and then my total monthly expenses in this list is $2,382. Okay. So that's lovely. The next thing that I'm going to do is add a remaining funds section, and I'm going to double click on column A to auto fit. Okay, there we go. You can also click on the border between your column headers and adjust the width of your columns however you want to adjust it. You don't have to use auto fit. Okay, so remaining funds is going to be in blue for me. And I'm going to make it all bold again. Okay. And this time we're going to do a subtraction, okay? But before I do that, I'm going to select all of my numeric values, and I'm going to apply the currency format to it. So it looks like we're dealing with money here, okay? All right. So to figure out how much money you have left, you need to take your total income and subtract your total expenses. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to build a formula that says equals B6 minus B20, because that's where my total income is and that's where my total expenses is. Now, expenses are. Now, if you guys have fewer income streams or more income streams, your total income is going to be the row after your last income stream. So it may not be cell B6, it might be cell B5 or B7 or B8. So don't use my location on your budget because it's not going to work. So you want to look for your total income minus your total expenses. So whatever the cell location is for your total income minus the cell location for your total expenses, okay? And that's going to vary from each person's budget. So we're going to do equals, and then I'm going to click on my total income cell. I'm going to type a minus sign, and then I'm going to click on my total expenses cell, and then I'm going to press enter. And it's going to do that calculation for me. Okay, so now I know after all of my expenses are paid, I've got $1,298 left. Okay, now that's not real for me. We are doing a very minimal list of expenses here. And so what I did to apply that to the second pay and the totals is I just used that fill handle and copied that across. So now what I'm looking at is what I have left for my first pay, what I have left for my second pay, what I have left for the whole month. Okay, so remember, we haven't put anything in for groceries yet. So I'm just going to do 300 on our first pay and 300 on our second pay here. And because we have done these calculations, we've put in these calculations already, everything's going to automatically update for us, which is the beauty of this setup here. So I'm going to say $300 for our first pay. And as soon as I press enter, you can see that my total for my expense is now showing. My total expenses has recalculated and my remaining funds has recalculated. So it's already adding my total expense to my expenses total and subtracting that from the remaining funds. So I don't have to do any math anymore. I've already created my formulas. Excel's going to do the math for me. So I'm going to go ahead and say my second pay is going to be $300 allocated to groceries. I put that in. I can now see that I'm spending $600 a month on groceries, or allocating it towards groceries. And I have $998 left for my first pay and roughly $1,200 left for my second pay. So everything is going to calculate by itself from this point forward, okay? And then the beauty of this is that once you have your budget set up and working, I'm going to move this out of the way. Why is there two of them? I don't know. All you have to do is duplicate this sheet. So let's rename the sheet. I'm right clicking on the sheet tab and I'm going to rename it to July. Right, and I just click away and it renames it. Now I can click on this little drop down here, or I can right click and I can click on duplicate, and it is going to create a copy of July, which I can rename to August. Okay, so July is my original budget layout, and then let's say that in August or in July, we realize that, hey, $300 in groceries is not going to cut it. Well, I can just go to August, click on groceries, and then let's change that to $400, and it automatically recalculates. So once you've taken the time to create the budget, put in your formulas, all you have to do is just copy it from month to month to month and make your individual adjustments from month to month to month. And then what I would do, so I will go through and redo my budget. Hopefully this recorded all the way. I will go through and redo my budget, and then I will print out the budget for August and put it into my calendar. That way, every time I get into my calendar, I can just be like, okay, I need to make sure that on Thursday I'm paying these bills, and then on Thursday I'm paying these bills, or if a bill comes in, I have my budget listed right here, or I can just get into my budget online like what you're seeing here, or I can access it through my phone or tablet or anything. That's why I love using Google Sheets for this. Again, you can use the Office 365. It's not as easy to use, especially on the cell phone, but it does have the online version available to you. So yeah, that is how I do my budget or my spending plan. I hope that you guys find this useful and find it easy. And I love that you're going to be able to just pause and see what formula I'm using and be able to create this just for you. So you have a customized spending plan or customized budget. If you have any questions, I will put my email in the description box under the video, and you can go ahead and email me, or you can drop a comment. Let me know if there's an easier way to do this, or if you do it a different way. How do you track your spending, or how do you track your bills? Some people like to write out lists. I like this because then I don't have to redo it every single month. I just copy it, make my adjustments for the month, print it out, and I have it ready to go. And all the calculations are there for me. So this is how my brain works, but this is like the base budget that I use every month. So anyway, I hope that I feel like I'm repeating myself because I never have a good closing. So anyway, okay, happy budgeting. So have a great weekend, you guys. See you later.